What's up everybody, JB Tech Fanatic, and I'm back again with another video. As always, I want to start this video by thanking each of you for joining me. If you have not yet subscribed, I'd be so honored if you would consider. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And if you want to know when the latest content is available, don't forget to click the notifications to on. Today we are back with Samsung. This is Samsung's latest premium soundbar series. This is the brand new Q990B. It features Dolby Atmos and DTS-X, as well as some of your favorite audio formats. This is also the first soundbar system by Samsung that features wireless Dolby Atmos. Today what we're going to do is unbox, go over what you get, look at each piece nice and close, go over setup, settings, and do some sound test, and also give you my opinion if I believe it's worth your hard-earned money. I can't wait to get started. Let's do this.
Let's get this box open. Go ahead and grab your knife. Nice and securely packed, always good to see. Greeted with the sound bar, we'll get to that in a moment. Got the rear speakers here, everything is individually wrapped up. Now we got the bass module. So now I have the HW-Q990B all laid out. Just wanted to show you everything that comes with it. So it does come with a wall mount kit. That's over there by the one remote not open. You get a one remote. It does come with the batteries. It does give you one HDMI cable. Then of course it has the two power cable. You do get the rear speakers, the soundbar, and the bass module. We are going to start by taking a look at the rear speakers. Now remember, this is an 11.1.4 channel system, which means we get a whopping 22 speakers. So each rear speaker actually has 3 speakers. We are looking at it from the front. You can see that we have one here. Turn that over to the side. You can see that we also have one here. And if you can see through that grate, the speaker is actually side firing. It's not directly straight. It's actually angled a little bit. Now, when we go to the top, you can see that we also have one up top, but on one side, we actually don't have anything. Now, this is a nice brushed, I guess it's a metal, it might be a plastic, feels like a metal, but I like this look much better than the cloth, so I'm happy that they did that this year. But overall, these are beautiful speakers. Remember, they are wireless, but that does not mean they don't have to be plugged in. So when we flip it to the bottom side, we will see where the power plug goes, and we have that nice channel there for our power cable. And it also has some rubber feet if you're going to set these on a desk or a table. So first thing we're going to want to do here is go ahead and put that power cable in. And then, you know, if you're going to use a stand, you're going to want to get your stand out right now, but we're going to want to get to the back side of the speaker. Once you flip to the back, you will see that you have, you know, if you want to use certain mounts, you have that nice hole there for the screw to go into. I'm actually going to put these on mounts, floor stand mounts this time, so we'll look at that in a bit. Here's your ID set button, and then your standby and link status symbols here. Taking a up close look at the bass module. Again, we have the new look for this year. They got rid of the cloth. Got this nice looking sort of brushed metal look, if you would, around the air hole. I think it looks much better. For those of you wondering, the total weight on this is 25.8 pounds, and then the dimensions is 8.7 by 16.3 by 16.9. This, of course, is a completely wireless bass module. However, it does need power also. I went ahead and I flipped it around for setup purposes. We're going to put the power plug here. Here is your service port. And then you have your indicators, your link indicator, standby, and then of course your ID set button here. Then if you just look up top on the back, we have our air hole. Flip over to the opposite side. It's just a nice clean plastic. Here you can see 2022 Q Series Soundbar Q990B. This has wireless Dolby Atmos. This is a big deal. And if I'm correct, it might be the first and only soundbar that has this right now anyway. I'm sure there's more to come. True 11.1.4 channel sound, Q Symphony. Then we have Alexa built in, Apple AirPlay, Dolby Atmos, DTS X, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. This does have 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi built in. Let's go ahead and talk all the audio processing. So again, Dolby Atmos, Dolby True HD, Dolby Digital Plus, Dolby MAT, Atmos Music, then DTS X, DTS HD HRA, DTS HDMA, DTS Express, and DTS 5.1 channel. Sound modes on board or surround sound, expansion, Game Pro, standard, and adaptive. Again, it's 11.1.4 with 22 total speakers with a total power wattage of 656 watts. It does have a center speaker, up-firing speaker, and side-firing speakers. We do have some controls that are built into the bar. We have our volume up, our voice mute, and of course it's going to be, different items that you can select with this button here. We'll look at that in a moment, but mainly what happened is last year's they had that little screen right here. They got rid of that in place for a digital screen on the front of the bar. We'll look at that in a bit. You're now looking at the bottom side of the actual sound bar. First, we're going to take a look at the HDMI ports. First off, this has 2 additional HDMI ports. This is always a great thing. If you use all the ones on the back of your TV, then you have some extras. For those of you wondering about the pass-through features, these do feature 4K video pass-through with HDR10+, but if you have a TV that you are running VRR with your PS5 or your Xbox Series X, you have to connect that directly to your TV. It will not work as a pass-through option. This is an HDMI eARC port. So that we're very clear, to achieve Dolby Atmos or DTS X, you need a TV that also has HDMI eARC and that supports Dolby Atmos and DTS X. If you don't, you cannot get true Dolby Atmos or DTS X. That does not mean that you cannot achieve great sound, and it doesn't mean you cannot use this soundbar. If you have a standard ARC, you will also connect it right here. And they also give us an optical port. We'll slide the bar over to the left. Here you can see where you put your optical in and the service port. While I'm sliding this around, if you slide on over to the right, that is where you put your power cable in. You can see that it has a nice cutout so it will sit nice and flush. I also wanted to talk about other ways that you might be able to get Atmos without having a TV that supports it. They do sell boxes that will up convert your signal for you. This is an option that you have. I have also had people tell me that they have put certain streaming sticks that support that audio format, and that by plugging it into the HDMI 1 or 2 port, they were able to get it that way. So there is ways around it, but I like to look at it this way. If I want to get the best experience, I want the real thing straight from my TV to my soundbar. And if you don't have that right now, that's all right. You don't have to have Dolby Atmos. You could still have great surround sound with those 22 speakers. So it's just something that you might keep in mind for the future. For those of you that are going to follow along for setup at this point, go ahead and get an HDMI 2.1 cable, run it into the eARC. Now go to the back of your TV and plug it in also. You will also want to, if you're setting it up, to put your other HDMI products there. What I'm going to use HDMI 1 and 2 for is a Nintendo Switch and HDMI 1. And HDMI 2, I'm going to use a PlayStation 4. Since I don't need it to do anything special, I'm going to go ahead and use the 2 extra for those. And don't worry, if you're using optical, go ahead and plug that in now. You could still follow along with this setup. It will still work for you. To get a close-up look at some of these speakers, here we have on the left side of the bar, we have one of our up-firing speakers. It's pretty cool because it's slanted slightly and it has a little bit of depth there, almost like a cone around it. Pretty nice. Got some beautiful Samsung branding here on the edge. Trying to get you a good look. This would be one of the front firing speakers there. It's also got a little cone around it. Pretty nice. Now again, it's going to be the same on both sides, so I'll just show you the left side here. A little bit more difficult to get the camera right to show you the speakers here on the sides, but there is 2 speakers on each side. So you have one on the higher end here, which hopefully you could kind of see there, and then one right where I'm putting my thumb. A little bit better angle, you can see that speaker right there. Sorry, it's over to the side of the camera. And then just if you can catch that there with the glimpse, there's the other speaker. So a total of 4 speakers with both sides. All right, so last but not least, we have our one remote. I am ecstatic that they upped the game with the one remote. Last year's was terrible. It just bounced around the internals, and it was, you know, this looks more like the one for the TV. But here we have our, let's see, channel level, settings, tone control, volume up, down, mute, sound mode, play, pause. We got our little pad here, power, pair, and then of course our source button. And again, it's just like the one remote before they went with the solar one remotes on the new QLEDs. But big fan of this, just wanted to show you. So at this point, to move on with the setup process, soundbar should be in place with the HDMI connected to the eARC and or your auxiliary cable plugged in. Also, you want power ran to your bass module, your rear speakers, and your soundbar. Make sure that you have everything connected to the HDMI 1 and 2. And let's begin. Now it's time to get this connected to our TV, so make sure your HDMI eARC and or optical port are put in place and your power cable is put in place. Now we're going to run the other end where it says HDMI eARC or ARC. If you have the optical and you're going to use that, then you would just find the optical port, go ahead and plug the other end. If you do want to upgrade your cable or buy, a third party, make sure it is an HDMI 2.1 cable to maximize its potential. Make sure your HDMI port is nice and clean, dust-free before you plug it in, and make sure that it's plugged in all the way nice and flush. Let's move on. Time for connection. So there's 2 ways of doing this. Hopefully it works right out of the box. Go ahead and power on your soundbar first, then plug in your bass module and then your rear speakers. Give it a few minutes and it should all connect. However, if that does not take place, you want to make sure that your soundbar is connected. Now you can see this little digital screen. We are on eARC. Now, just very quickly, since we're here, I'm going to let you see what you can see on this screen. If we flip through, you can go to your HDMI 1, 2, we have our Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and then we have our direct ins. Now, eARC is what's coming straight out of the TV, but since we're going to act like it's not connecting right out of the box, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to hit power off on the remote here, power off on the bar, and we're going to go over to the bass module. Now the bass module, as well as each rear speaker, has this button on it. What you're going to want to do is one at a time, starting with the bass module. We're going to come over here. We're going to hold this down for 5 seconds. You're going to see that red light. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Once that's happening, move on to the next speaker. Do the same thing on both speakers. Once all of your devices, your bass module, your right and left rear speaker are blinking, you're going to grab your remote, and hold up for 5 seconds. This will pair it, and you're going to check that SSID on the bar itself. Now everything is connected. On the rear of your bass module and your speakers, you should have a solid blue light. And now we can see that it's connected here. As you can see, it says TV. Another way to know that you're connected, with the exception, of course, of hearing sound out of it, you should have solid blue indicator lights on your bass module and both of your rear speakers. Very quickly, connection guide recap. First, turn the bar off with the remote that came with the bar. Next, go to the bass module. Hold down this button on the back for 5 seconds until it turns red, and this is rapidly blinking blue. Next, move on to your right channel speaker. Do the same thing until the speaker is blinking blue. Next, go to the left channel speaker, hold down the button for 5 seconds until you have a blinking blue button. At this point, grab the remote and simply press up with the little dial pad for 5 seconds. Once you do that, all of these should turn solid. You now know you're connected and you're ready to move on. I really feel that speaker positioning makes a big difference. Now, I know this is a close-up shot, but I just wanted to give you an example of what I think really helps you maximize your experience with an Dolby Atmos system, especially this Samsung. Now, these are speaker stands here that you can see. I will link them in the description. They're not expensive. I think they were like 45 bucks, but they definitely do the trick. So imagine you want these about 4.5 feet to the left and right of your sitting area. If you have enough room to where you can go behind your couch slightly, go ahead and do that. If not, at very least have them side by side, and then distance from the couch, sorry, here's my hand here, going this way, you want about 4 feet if possible. Now, front facing speaker, you can see it's facing us, but I have it catty cornered for a reason. The outside should be the speaker. You want the sound bouncing this way and back at you. So my sitting area is over here. Here I have my side speaker. It's going to hit that wall and it's going to give me that sound around me. Then we have one that's essentially firing right into the sitting area. And then our up firing speaker has that nice V here that sort of channels the sound up to the ceiling. All in all, what you're going to get is a very full consuming sound that's hitting you at every direction. I always recommend that the hard side with no speaker, which is here, should be the one that is facing the sitting area. So speaker outwards, flat side inwards, just like this. If you want to do a ceiling mount, I also recommend you set your speaker just like this. Buy the ceiling mount where you can mount it sort of to the side, not all the way at the top, because you want that up firing speaker still facing upwards. You want to give it about 3-4 feet. If you have really high ceiling, even better, but that's going to basically shoot the sound up and ricochet that sound all around the room, and it gives you a great performance.
Moving on to Samsung SmartThings. Now this will maximize your experience with your soundbar. It is something that I highly recommend. If you do not use already, you definitely want to set it up for this soundbar. To do so, it's pretty easy. All you're going to do is hit the plus symbol. Likely it will populate and it will pop up your soundbar. If not, you simply go to device and then you would do scan nearby devices. It will pop up your soundbar. Go ahead and click it, and then you follow the prompts for the setup process. Now on your mobile device's home page, you can see some of my TVs here. All right, so now we're on the Q990B. Right next to it, we have my soundbar. So what we're gonna do is we're going to click the soundbar. Now I got last year's version and this year, so you wanna make sure that they're titled correctly. So, but when you click on it, we are now here, Samsung soundbar Q990B. And you can see that we have these different EQ, sound mode, auto EQ, etc. Now these are going to be very important to maximizing your experience. Once everything is connected correctly, the first thing you're going to want to do is a software update. To do that, you're going to click these 3 dots here. Then you're going to go to information. When you're here, you're going to have a firmware update. Go ahead and click. It might take a little while. Let that finish. I already did mine, so you can see it's no updates available. So the first thing that you want to do is the auto EQ. Now this is going to basically scan the environment with the sound that comes from the bass module and essentially give you the best sound for your environment. To do that, you would simply click. Auto EQ would not be flipped to on yet. You're going to do tune auto EQ. Go ahead and click.
Hopefully you can hear that. My bass module's making sound, tuning in progress. Eventually it will finish. Once that's completed, you will see auto EQ is on. You can redo that at any time. Next we have our sound mode. Now we have standard, surround sound, game, and adaptive plus. Now I'm using adaptive plus because I'm using a Samsung 8K TV that utilizes the speakers in the TV as well as the soundbar. And that is something that we're going to talk about in a second, but keep this in mind for a moment. Next we have the sub settings. You can set that to +6 to -12. Next, we have the space fit sound. Feel free to turn that on and off. I like to have that on. We have our active voice amplifier. Again, this scans your environments. So let's just say you have a bunch of fans running. Maybe it's hot in the room. This will actually take those sounds, try to drown them out by increasing the volume of voice. This is extremely useful for pulling out that audio dialogue. Then we have our advanced sound settings. Here we have voice enhancement, bass enhancement, and night mode. Now, night mode is awesome. If, like me, I like to have these big systems in my bedroom. My wife is not a fan at nighttime. Click night mode on, it pulls those vocals out, but it tones everything else down. So it makes it a very pleasant experience if you have other people in the room. And if not, we have our bass enhancement. That's going to definitely kick that bass module up a notch, and then voice enhancement. Really, if you're going for the best surround sound experience, I recommend that you kick all of these off, believe it or not. Also up top in those three dots, you have, of course, your device settings. You have your Alexa settings, Spotify settings, and your information. Lastly, if you touch this area, you can switch inputs. Everything is available here on your mobile device. Last thing here we're going to touch on is the equalizer. I put my bass up to +6, and then here is where I have my treble. Feel free to mess with this however you'd like. So again, quick recap. For now, if you're going to use a Samsung that utilizes the Q Symphony, you want to have it on Adaptive Sound Plus. Talked about the equalizer. Make sure your auto Q is on, turn space fit sound on, and let's move on. So now we're going to take a look at what settings I use in my Q990B and my Q980B. Now this can be utilized really for any Samsung QLED TV. However, it must have the Q Symphony available for your model. If it does not, that doesn't matter. You would just make one minor tweak, and I'll show you that. So let's go ahead and press the settings. First thing we're going to need is the audio or sound menu. Now, as you can see, so far we have sound output, TV plus soundbar. Let's go ahead and click. Once we click, you can see that we have the option of just the TV speaker, the TV plus the soundbar, or just the soundbar, or the soundbar through Wi-Fi. Now again, this is the first or maybe the only right now, probably will change again, soundbar that is capable of putting out Dolby Atmos through wireless. I'm still a guy that likes to be direct connected. So first thing we're gonna go to is the TV plus soundbar. Make sure that you scroll to that and go ahead and click. Once you're clicked and you see those little green icons, you know that we are connected correctly. So we're going to back out. Let's go down to expert settings. Now in expert settings, we have a few things to go over here. HDMI ARC mode must be on or auto depending on what TV you have. Digital output, I just keep that at auto, but you can put it at pass through with this bar. Auto's the best, it'll pick it out for you. Digital output delay, I put that to 0. Dolby Atmos must be turned on. And then as you can see with this TV, we can actually have an optical output going at the same time. Now I've played with this and it does work. You can take another soundbar, hook it up with just the optical and have another soundbar going. It was kind of overkill, but feel free to play. It's always fun. All right, so now we're all set up. Let's go ahead and back out to the standard setting menu. Now down here, we're going to have a few things that you will notice. If we scroll all the way over, you have our sound modes. Now you can see it says intelligent mode, adaptive sound. You saw that we picked that in the phone earlier. You can change to standard, surround, and game right here. I'm going to stick with the adaptive. Here you can see that Q Symphony is activated. Now this is important because you want to know when all the speakers are activated. But if you can, quickly want to flip through this menu, the nice thing is you can toggle that on and off to see and hear the difference. So let's get out the Galaxy Buds. We got the other sound bar there. Keep going. And we have all of our functions. Go to the optical, TV speaker, keep on going, go back just to the sound bar, and there we go. Now we know Q Symphony is activated. It even has the little icon showing you sound coming from everywhere. Just a quick note for those of you that don't have a TV that does that. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Go back to the sound settings. Really, the only difference you need to do here is to pick just HDMI ARC or eARC, or if you're using an optical cable, that will be available here, and just stick with that settings. If you have a TV that lets you pick a sound format, let's just say Dolby Digital 5.1, what you want to make sure is that you pick one of those formats that are supported. Remember, if you pick an unsupported format, even if you're getting sound, you are playing a broken file. It will give you problems. Don't do it. You might not notice it, but you are losing out.
So now what I'm going to do is to show you that each speaker is utilized in this sound bar. I'm going to mic each speaker one at a time so you can hear that it's being used. Now I'm going to use some music. Sorry, it's just whatever I was able to use on YouTube without copyright. So I'm going to play the music on my phone and then put the mic up to each speaker so we can hear that it's working. That way you know that even if you don't have a correct format to utilize that 11.1 sound, you're still getting all of those speakers.
So now we're going to do some Dolby Atmos sound test. The best way you can hear this is if you put on a set of headphones. Obviously it's going to sound better in real life, but I'll do my best to at least give you an idea. First, I'm going to use Samsung's Q Symphony, which utilizes the speakers built into my 8K Samsung TV, as well as the soundbar, the rear speakers, and the bass module. Then I will go to just the soundbar. As you can see, it says TV plus soundbar. You will also be able to see me adjusting the sound as I go up and down.
Bear in mind, due to copyright issues, I will have to cover up the screen pretty often, but I will do so with the specifications of the bar, thus utilizing the time wisely. So let's begin. So that you can directly compare, I'm going to run the exact same sequence, but you will see I will go just to the soundbar. Now, of course, that's the soundbar with the rear speakers and the bass module. Let's begin. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump back. We're going to go to the soundbar plus the TV, and I'm going to let some more sequences play so that you can hear this in its glory. And I tell you, it is glorious. Here we go.
It's a new way to experience sound. Unlike stereo, which is limited to 2 audio channels, Dolby Atmos can manipulate individual sounds in 3D space to position sounds all around you. Sounds can move above you, far away, or right up close. Let's compare. This is stereo, and this is Dolby Atmos. Dolby Atmos can build worlds of sound to tell any story. It catches all the little details, puts you in the center of the action. It sounds just like the real world.
Now, as everything is running, I will flip through the different sound settings. While it's playing, you should be able to see what's happening on the screen. This is just to give you an idea. Again, it's not going to sound as good as it would in your home. Let's begin.
Sound all around you, even overhead. It also enables much finer control over individual sounds, which can be precisely placed and moved in 3-dimensional space. Each sound can be made louder or quieter, more diffuse or more focused, bigger or smaller. So every part of the audio comes to life with its own unique personality and moves around you the way that it does in the real world. Dolby Atmos adapts this premier sound.
The number of speakers around you no longer matters, because this is the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels. to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sits the mood of the scene.
What is this place? Come on, you guys, let's go!
Or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury. And remember this? It's just the beginning.
Now I'm going to play some Bluetooth music from my phone so you can hear what it sounds like. So now I'm going to play an action scene from a movie. Again, I'm sorry I can't show you more, but it's due to copyright. Let's go ahead and play it. It's time for my review. Now, we're going to talk about a few different categories, and again, these are my opinions, and I would love to hear your opinions, especially if you own this product, down in the comments. Let's begin with the overall presentation of the soundbar. Last year, if you watched that video, you know that I'm not a big fan of the cloth top. Really, the reason for that is it catches every bit of dog, cat hair, dust, and it just always looks kind of snagged or little tears or whatever it might be. I just don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it feels. So that was one of my biggest complaints. Samsung changed that. They went back to this beautiful steel mesh sort of finish. I love the way this soundbar looks. The build quality of this soundbar is amazing. It just feels nice and heavy, thick, and just well built, if you know what I mean. You could just kind of tell how much technology, size of speakers, things like that are in a bar. You know, you get these bars and they're really light. And I know that they're coming up with some great slim down versions of sound bars, but you're never gonna sound when you do something like this. So overall build quality and presentation, I give this top of the line. Next thing I really did not like is they used to have that little screen up there. It was in a bad spot to see, first of all. It was too small to really see, and it just was kind of useless to me. They put the digital display back in the front of the bar, much more useful. You could see it when you're sitting on the couch. You know what's going on. So again, kudos to Samsung for fixing really the two problems that I had with the soundbar from last year. Now, I love that soundbar. I'm still going to use it in the theater room, but always good to see them progress. Now, as far as features go, we know this is an 11.1.4. That's insane. So many people, you know, obviously not everything is in Dolby Atmos, not everything is in DTS:X. And when you're listening to music, as an example, and I know we did some sound tests, I want every speaker to work. And I know a lot of you feel the same way, and they do that. And while we're talking about that, I love the EQ settings. The ability to really adjust each and every speaker is awesome. You could turn the back top speakers up or down, the side speakers up or down, the front firing speakers up or down, the up firing in the bar, the front firing in the bar. This lets you adjust each one of those speakers. And honestly, it makes a substantial difference. These are things that I love that have been added. Now, Samsung SmartThings is an ecosystem that I have used for a very long time. Of course, that's how this bar operates when you're using the smart functions. So I love Samsung SmartThings. Full ability to control it on your phone or mobile device. You have all the settings, not just a couple, not toned down. You get everything all in one place. I love that. Also, the tap to listen feature is something that goes unrated or underrated a lot, in my opinion. You know, NFC used to be on a lot of older soundbars, and I'm sure a lot of them still have it. But the ability to simply just tap your device twice and it connects instantly, I love that about it. Also, those of you that have Samsung's QLED premium TVs that have the sound wall built in, you know, the ability to essentially, instead of connecting your, let's just say you use Google or YouTube Music like I do. Spotify, by the way, is built in, you know, that's Samsung's thing. But I use YouTube Music and I actually cast it to the TV, letting the TV send it through the eARC and then control my sound that way, thus giving me a fuller sound in my opinion. Now, again, this is something that is just a nice added feature. Other things that really come in handy. Bass boost obviously is great. The voice enhancement features are amazing. The ability of the sound system to utilize the room. Example, you have a bunch of fans on and it's drowning out the voice, right? You really want to hear those vocals. It automatically adjust those up so that you can hear them nice and clearly. These are all things that are so useful. You know, we used to be in a world where it's just purely gimmicks, and I really feel that a lot of these features are really useful features, thus making these sound products just get better and better each year. Now, as far as wireless Dolby Atmos goes, now this is something that is obviously a huge break forward. I think it's awesome. I'm kind of, honestly, if I can connect it with a cable, I'm going to. Now, I know that's not always the best, you know, for everyone, because you maybe don't want cables running across the back or whatever it might be. Now, I'm not trying to confuse you. The wireless speakers are fully wireless. But what I'm saying is that if you were to ask me, do I think a wireless connection sounds as good as a wired? Honestly, my answer would be no, and most of us might not even be able to hear the difference. But again, just think of the bandwidth you're getting through your wires. Having said that, we will have to see where this Dolby Atmos wireless goes. But for now, sounds great. I would have done a sound test with it for you, but honestly, it's so hard to hear anyway through the microphone. But I will tell you this, wireless Dolby Atmos for most people sounds just as good as wired Dolby Atmos. It's those real picky ears like mine maybe that it might bother you a little bit, but it's just subtle. Other than that, again, just kind of pushing that technology forward. When you're coming out with new soundbars every year, we want to see it change a little bit, right? We don't want the same bar every year. Which brings me into the next question. A lot of you are going to ask, I got the 21 version, should I upgrade? And honestly, it's kind of up to you. Do you have to? Absolutely, by no means do you have to. Will you hear a difference? You know, I can say I do. Maybe it's a placebo effect, but especially with the Q990B and the Q980B 8K TVs. You know, when you're utilizing that Q Symphony, it does sound better. The latency's gotten better. Everything about it's better. It's literally like listening to one system. And for those of you that are on the fence about getting a TV and you're going to get this soundbar, that is definitely a reason to buy the pair together. But I don't want those of you that own different brand TVs to be swayed. Oh, that's only for Samsung. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't use it on my TV. That's not the case. From my Sony TVs, LG TV, I've tried it on many different TVs and it sounds amazing on all of them. Of course, those with the formats, Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, that have HDMI ER, that's when you really know what it sounds like. So let's talk about specifications. Now, the audio formats are important. If you do put an audio format that is not supported, I know some of you get it to work. Sound comes out, everything's working, correct? Actually, it's not. You're missing out. So, the formats that are supported, Dolby Atmos, Dolby True HD, Dolby Digital Plus, Dolby MAT, and Atmos Music. That's a big one. DTS, we have DTS-X, DTS HD HRA, DTS HDMA, DTS Express, and DTS 5.1 channel. So, if you don't have a TV that has Dolby Atmos, don't worry, 5.1 surround sound is going to sound great anyway. But only use one of those formats. If you can select on your TV something different that isn't on that list, I advise against it. But again, it's your soundbar. Now, as far as utilization of each and every speaker, we talked about how it utilizes each speaker. So again, it's giving you this great effect no matter really what kind of surround format that you're using. I'm telling you, it sounds great. Which brings me into this year's bass module. Now, the bass module, again, on the outside looks different. I will say that the bass module produces cleaner frequencies. It just got, in my opinion, better lows. It just, if you would, it sinks in better with the soundbar. I sometimes felt a slight delay, and again, software updates have improved that. And this happens a lot in some wireless soundbar systems that have, wireless bass modules. But I'm telling you, it's so perfectly synced that it just gives you that crisp movie theater feeling that you want. Now, I'm going to talk about placement, okay? Because placement is crucial to getting the experience that you really want out of the soundbar. The soundbar itself, first and foremost, needs to be facing the listeners, right? You do not want to have your soundbar way up here and the listener sitting on a couch way down here. You want that soundbar facing at least face level. That's going to be hitting us dead on while we're sitting there enjoying our movie. Next, remember, you have speakers that are firing up, speakers that are firing side by side, and one's, angled and one's straight. You do not want to put anything on the sides of the bar, nothing up above. This comes into play when you're placing it under your TV. A lot of people like to slide the soundbar all the way underneath their TV. I do not recommend this, as you will be kind of blocking these up-firing speakers. Now, if you want to put a gap TV and wall about this big and push the bar back to where the up-firing can sort of ricochet off the TV and go up, you could do that. That works for some people. But my opinion is, if your soundbars sits right to the edge of the TV, where these have full access to your ceiling, you're in prime position. Nothing in front of it, nothing beside it. Do not put this in a case. In other words, I know some of us have, entertainment centers that you could put it in there. I do not recommend that at all. I mean, obviously it's your house, your stuff, but you will not get all that you really want to get out of this soundbar if that happens. Samsung did something different this year. Now with the rear speakers, it has two setups on the app. You can use the rear speakers behind you or actually up front. And it's pretty interesting. So depending on what you want to do, we're going to go with two different setups. We've talked about the soundbar. That's how it is no matter what. Now, rear speakers. Let's just say you're going to place them in the front. The way you want to place them in the front, we have our right, left. You want the side of the speaker facing outward to ricochet off your wall, and you want the hard plastic or metal, whatever it is that they made it out of, facing inwards, because you want the sound to go around you, at you, and above you, right? You want it all around. So you want those about 7 feet to each side of your TV. The bass module would go to the right or left of your TV. That is one setup. The next setup is standard format, rear speakers in the back. The rear speakers in the back, same concept. If you're going to use a stand, you want them about 4.5 feet, no higher than 5 feet. You want them to the left and right of your sitting area. If you have enough room, like you have a big room with no wall behind you, slightly behind the sitting area, about 3 feet behind. Now, if you don't have any room, your couch is all the way up to the wall, right beside you, left and right of you, at least 5 feet on each side. Again, speaker facing the outer wall, up-firing speakers facing the ceiling. You don't want to put it right under a fan or anything that can, turn that sound. And that would be your premium setup. Now the bass module, there's two different ways you can do this with that setup. You can leave it in the front on the left or right side of your TV, or if you want to up it quite a bit, take your bass module, move it to the back of the room, slightly touching your sitting area with the speaker facing away from the sitting area. This will actually give you the effect of a Dolby Atmos theater where it sort of vibrates your seating. Pretty cool. But having the bass module in the back actually forces the bar to send more volume to your bass module. For those of you that want more bass, that's something that you can do. So again, setup environment is everything. You want it to hit possibly bare walls. Anything that it gets good acoustics, ricochets off, right? Going into a curtain or, something that would kind of soak that sound up, it's not going to kill the experience, but it doesn't help it. So the best you can do, you also can put your bookshelf speakers right beside you on like a table if you'd like. Same concept as far as the way they face, but just don't put anything in front of the front speaker or the top. Those are my recommendations. Now, this sound system, all in all, is stunning to me. The next thing that they really up the ante on is the one remote. And as small as that might seem to you, I like everything premium when I'm paying a premium price. This one remote last year was not great. It was just, it looked like a one remote, but it was made out of this weird light plastic, and it just, the batteries and stuff bounced around in it. Hardly had any functions. This guy has everything you need. It's built almost just as good as my 8K TV one remote. And I love the one remote and its easy form factor for those of you that don't want to use a mobile device as your control center. All in all, we have the features we want, Bluetooth, we got Wi-Fi, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. We have built-in Alexa, we have built-in Spotify. There's really everything we need. We got 2 HDMI pass-through ports that really help for those of us that have lots of stuff and we're using them all up. I have to say Samsung has nailed this out of the park. I would give this a 10 out of 10 with a comparable Q Symphony QLED TV by Samsung. And it's just a product that really blows me away. It really does. All in all, bow to Samsung. They did it again. This is a soundbar that you should check out. That wraps up my review on the brand new Samsung Q990B. If you are in the market for a premium soundbar with all the features and specifications that you could possibly want, this is a product that I really believe you should check out. It has by far exceeded every expectation that I had for it, and I truly believe that you would enjoy it. I want to thank you for joining me and slow things down for one moment and remind you life is so short. Don't forget to love your family, love your neighbors. Go out today and do a small act of kindness for someone. The world is a mess right now. The only people that can change it is you and I. It is amazing how the smallest act of kindness can make such a difference. I want to remind you, I do YouTube for you and you only, so if you need me, you can come follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at JBTechFanatic, but the best place to get in contact with me is in the comments section. If you have any questions, I missed anything, I would be glad to help as best as I can. I want to invite you to subscribe one last time. Thank you so much for your support. I can't wait to talk to you in the comments section and see you in the next video. And until then, I'm JB Tech Fanatic, and I'm out. Peace.